Well, hi, welcome to our session on photo styling for editorial opportunities. I'm Fran Worrall. I'm the editor-in-chief of Georgia Design Magazine, and I think you all were supposed to get a copy. I think they may be out in the, are they out in the, so please get our latest copy. The winter issue, oddly enough, just went to the printer today, and it's going to cover the Georgia Design Awards, which we sponsor every year, and we'll be talking a little bit about as this session goes on. But I'd like to introduce our panel. We have Elissa Benzie, and she is a stylist for the interior design market. Catrina Maxwell, and she's a professional photographer specializing in interiors. And Cristi Holcombe is an interior designer in the Johns Creek area. So we will get right into this topic, which is kind of interesting. We're going to talk a little bit, we're going to divide it into sections, kind of before the photo shoot, in the middle of the shoot, or what you can do to facilitate that, and then things you can do after it's all over. So to start out, what do you think is what are some of the key things that you can do before a shoot to just ensure success and also to ensure that you get the most from your investment? Katrina, you want to speak to that as photographer?
I think as far as the photography goes, if you're unsure of your space and unsure of the shots you're getting, is to definitely either do a virtual walkthrough with your photographer, or do a, depending on what's available, or either go out and walk the site and get an idea of kind of what photos are going to be taken. So, because if you know the angles and the types of shots you're going to be taking, it's easier to know how to style those areas.
Yeah, and I would kind of piggyback onto that. We do a lot of internal styling for our photo shoots. And for us, I mean, obviously hiring the photographer is key, but visiting the project site, figuring out what we're going to do in pre-styling the space, and also like kind of wiping the slate clean the day prior. Obviously, we're seeing if it fits into the client's schedule, but we oftentimes go the day before with an assistant, wipe the area, set it up like we would for the photo shoot, figure out exactly what we need, what we don't need, and then we basically put everything back on the shelves, and we take a picture of it before and after so that we know how it was styled, so that when we go back to do the photo shoot, it's really quick. We also have a few different staged boxes prior to that we take with us during the day of the photo shoot, and so we prep those to get those ready.
Elissa, can you chime in
I would
here?
say if you hire me, you don't need to do anything. I will come in with everything, food, floral, accessories. I bring an assistant. We'll clear everything. We'll set everything up. We will put everything back. That's full service. But I do offer some consulting styling. So I know that sometimes it can be a big investment, and maybe you haven't hired a stylist before. So I do walk clients through what I would do, including sketches, what the produce I would get for the kitchen, where I would put it, what the scale should be. So I do offer different levels of investment, if that answers that.
Interesting, okay.
I didn't want to get into setting expectations yet, because I think that question's coming.
Okay, well, what are some tips and tricks, do you think, to styling the project yourself? And don't mean to leave you out of this one at all.
Totally get it.
But I know a lot of designers are styling projects themselves. So, you know, what are some things that you do, Cristi, to kind of facilitate that process?
We do a lot of kitchens and baths. So we have two separate totes that have soaps, shampoos, different colors of soaps and shampoos, hand soaps, pump soaps, bar soaps. We kind of have amassed this styling prop box for each location. So our kitchen has different fillers for bowls, different bowls, different hand towels, tea towels. Just kind of each area has its own prop box, and we take that with us depending on what we're shooting. We also have a pretty massive toolbox that we take with us. fishing line, scissors,
The things she pulls out of that box is amazing.
chargers, phone chargers, backup chargers. We also, I can't even remember, like one time we had a photo that we needed to hang, but it was on a brick wall. We weren't sure if the client wanted to keep the photo or not, but we needed to get the picture. So we hung it with fishing line around the sconce.
Sconce, yeah.
You couldn't see it in the photo. It was great. We had a couple of scares a couple of times.
Yeah, shoot.
But I mean, those things are like essential for our photo shoots to go well and for us to not be running out last minute. Command hooks. I mean, I think we hung some art command hooks. But those things, like over time, I mean, we've been doing this for quite a while. And so over time, if we were ever on a photo shoot and realized we needed something, okay, that's going in the box. So the box has become, it's about this tall and this wide.
I wish I would have thought about it. I have a photo one day, we did an all-day shoot, and Cristi came in, and I remember it was this really very large mudroom, and she had steamers, vacuums. I mean, I was just like, holy cow. Oh, we were here all day yesterday. The whole room, and I took a video of just like all the stuff, and it's just, but again, that's something to think about.
It makes a great shoot, and it makes a great photo at the end.
Yeah, and it's something to think about is, time is money when it comes down to when your photographer gets there, you want to make sure that you're prepared. So Cristi's is one of my clients that's really good about going the day before and getting everything set and ready so that when I walk in, it's just, we're getting as much as we can out of the day. So.
Well, for many designers, this sounds like a pretty big production, you go in.
It is,
sometimes
so it's
the day
nice
ahead.
to hire.
So it's nice to hire, really, a stylist
I mean,
if you can do it, because a lot of designers probably don't want to take, all of that
we're
time.
fortunate enough to have a team, and so
Right,
I can't imagine
right.
doing it on
And
a
everybody may
single
not have a team. If you're an individual, like a solo, person in business,
Right.
that's where a good stylist comes in. So how do you find, that's the thing, how do you find good stylists and good photographers? What, do you have any tips for finding a good stylist besides here?
Usually, the designers will ask the photographer, and the photographer will recommend a couple of stylists that they've worked with. From that point, I would look at their Instagram account. I don't know about you, but I find it very tedious to update my website, so it's not current, but Instagram is current. And then from there, I would look and just see what you like about what they're doing. I really curate my style for each client. So if you go through my Instagram, you can see I've got very different styles. It's a little bit of an anthropological approach to styling. But I would look and see who you like on Instagram. I would also, because we're talking about publishing, I would look in different magazines, and again, this is something we talked about. Yeah. Stylists don't get credit, probably should, and then that way you can see who's styling, and then you can see who you like and what you like about them. I would say beyond that, once you have a call with a stylist, I would interview them. I would do that with the photographer too. And I would set expectations. I would tell them what your goals are with this photo shoot. What I've started doing with clients is I've started asking them to send me photos of things that they like and what they like about it. Because if you say simple, that could mean something totally different to you than it means to me. But if you send me a photo and you really like this kind of stark branch and you like this edited food story where maybe there's just like a couple of apples, that's totally different than a kind of a maximalist approach where it could be like a full floral and kind of like a spread with like a cutting board and a knife. Styling can run the gamut. So I really want to get clear on what your goals are and what your preferred aesthetic is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that?
That makes sense.
Okay.
Totally. So, so you speak to the photography end of it now. How can people find the best photographers, because that's so critical in this
So
business.
when you asked me this earlier, I immediately looked at Cristi and was like, how did you find me? I can't remember. But I would say 90% of my clients have found me on Instagram from other designer friends of theirs crediting me. I think that when you're looking for a photographer, you kind of need to look at the whole package as far as like, what are you ultimately looking to do? What is your goal? Are you trying to get published? Are you trying to submit for awards? Are you just trying to get social media posts? There's so many different ways that you can ultimately use, or you can use it for all those things. So you want to try to find a photographer that's kind of saturated in those parts of the market. I hear a lot of people come to me and they're like, well, I had a photographer, but I wasn't happy. And it comes down to, it was a real estate photography, which they're amazing in what they do, but it's a different type of photography.
Completely.
Again, I had a family portrait friend photographer that did our interiors and it just didn't turn out. Well, rightfully so. So you want to look at their portfolio, kind of see what they're doing and what they're involved in. It's something me and Cristi do, is she was saying the connections that your photographer might have, how saturated they are in the industry, makes a big difference.
Right.
So those are all things that you want to look at.
So what are some of the key avenues for getting your work published? I think I can talk a little bit about that. Besides magazines, of course, magazines are still important. Print magazines are sort of like the pinnacle. But, there are a lot of other ways now to get your work out there. I mean, we have like a very active digital presence, and we post 1 or 2 new articles, and they're pretty full length, like 500-600 words with photos and captions. And, we run those every week, and then we also compile some of those and send them in a newsletter. So that's a great way to get your work out there and to get it noticed and get it seen. There's also, all kinds of like the Instagram, social media. And then also awards, and not just the Georgia Design Awards, but there are a lot of different, ASID sponsors awards and ADAC and all. I mean, there are so many organizations that have wonderful ways to get your projects noticed. And so we're about to have the Georgia Design Awards in November. We have 55 categories this year. I mean, everything from little design details like, stairwells or, woodwork, millwork, to best home overall, historic renovation. I mean, there's so many categories, powder room, living room, great room, dining room, all of that. And it's a good way, if you win an award, then you can really take that and use it in 100 different ways. So that's also something to just be aware of.
And I'd like to say to that,
Sure.
the Georgia Design Awards, I mean, I went the very first year and have been very impressed with the way you guys do that. And the fact that when you do win, you get you put together the magazine.
Well, that's right.
And you're published.
You're in the
So now
magazine.
you're published.
Yeah, that's true. That's
So-
true. Yeah. So there are a lot of ways to do that. But let's talk about what you can do to facilitate that whole process of getting published. I mean, there's so many things that before you get your home or this particular room or renovation published, there's a lot of behind the scenes work. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, I would say with me and Cristi, we've had quite a few projects published.
Like 4 or 5?
Yeah, I would say that with us, and you can piggyback however you want, but like Cristi's good with words. Me not so much.
I send her the blurb to send, and Catrina has a lot of connections. I have connections too.
Yeah.
But Catrina's got a lot of connections as well. And so for me, I like for the photographer to put it out and take the reins on it. I feel like it's more organic that way. I know there are plenty of designers, and then there's also, you can go as far as hiring a PR firm to help you push your projects as well. But I feel like organically it's best when the photographer pushes it. And I've been fortunate to have very well-connected photographers. Obviously, if you're hiring a real estate photographer or a family photographer, you're not going to get that same ability to push your projects. So choose your photographer wisely. It's very, very important.
Yeah, and I would say that with that being said, like we'll do a project and I'll instantly start talking to her about like, are you trying to publish this? What are you trying to do with these photos? I mean, all my clients, I ask that too. And then if I know they're trying to publish it, honestly, I have magazines reach out to me and they're like, we're looking for this specific thing. Do you have anything like this? Have you shot anything like this in the last 6 months? And I send them my galleries, and then, it's like.
Some of the projects that I never thought were going to be published are the ones that get published too. So
Yeah.
don't kind of shut out the ones that you think aren't good enough or aren't worthy of a magazine, or because it is so surprising what actually the magazines are looking for.
Yeah.
And some of the most beautiful projects that we've done and that have gotten the most likes and comments on Instagram, they're
Yeah.
overlooked.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that kind of goes back to really trusting in your design and trusting in your brand, and it's a crapshoot. So I would lead with what you're wanting to do in the first place. And if it resonates, then it was meant to be.
Well, and also speaking to that, you have to know the magazine too. And some magazines are very geared toward, say contemporary design. So if you send a very traditional room, you can't be surprised that they're doesn't mean the room isn't beautiful, but.
And it doesn't mean you should change what you're doing.
Right, exactly.
If that's
It's
your
just that's
aesthetic.
not the right publication
yeah.
for you. And that's something to keep in mind too, when you're pitching stories to magazines, or if you have a PR person, or, that they're usually very well aware of the PR people. If you, want to spend that money and hire somebody to totally just take care of magazine pitches or just getting your work out there. But if you're doing that yourself, just always be aware that, each magazine may have a little bit different. Take the time, just take the little bit of extra time to look at maybe their media kit, or, it will tell you a little bit about what kinds of articles they're looking for or what their editorial schedule is for the coming year. And you can, kind of go from there. That's very helpful.
And to piggyback off of what Amber said earlier in her workshop, she said when she started out, she had 10 publications that she was interested in. And one of the number one ones was HGTV, their magazine. And she went and followed all the editors, and she made those connections.
Yeah.
And she got on the cover. So.
Right.
I would also, and this is kind of, just be prepared to wait, because publishing it can happen quickly, but it can also happen extremely slowly. So if your plan is that if you are just starting out designer and you want to get your work published, but you have no portfolio on your website, it might be more important for you to get those photos on your website first.
Right.
I'm not saying definitely do that, but just
No,
look
that's
at
right.
your business and look at your business model and see what's best for you, because sometimes it takes a year
Yeah,
and
it can be a long cycle. It can.
Yeah, we have a perfect example. We had something that we shot back at the first of the year, and I started pitching it, and I pitched it to this writer.
It got picked up.
Yeah, and then she ended up saying they weren't going to use it, and then within the last couple weeks, they're like, we have a place for it, and it was like. And she had started posting it because we finally were like, okay, we've tried since the beginning of the year, let's just go ahead. And she started posting it, and then all of a sudden they're like, we have a place for it. So it's like, you never know.
Yeah, you never know. Something might have changed.
Yeah.
Somebody fell out of the.
And they needed us,
Yeah, but it is a long cycle. I mean, especially like we're just a quarterly, at least right now. We may change that a little bit next year. But, I've already scheduled pretty much the spring and the summer issues are fairly full. So I'm working now on maybe fall of next year, but I would really encourage, the biggest thing I can say is just don't get discouraged. Just because maybe you pitch a story and the editor says, oh, this isn't quite what we're looking for, don't let that discourage you and give up, because, the next time you pitch something might be exactly what they're looking for. And it could be a million reasons why it was turned down. Not that it's not a beautiful project, but maybe that particular issue is geared toward maybe like we do a kitchen issue, or we do it might be a holiday issue or whatever, and maybe that just wasn't a fit. But it could be a really good fit in another issue. I try to I have files of like projects that I really love. It might not be a fit in this coming issue, but might be down the road. So just don't give up.
Mm-hmm.
And not
because-
to mention, you'll have those images for social media.
Absolutely.
So they're yours, and you can use them for marketing.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So any other things that we kind of digressed a little bit, but we can, do to facilitate the whole process of just finding avenues to get into and get your work published? I mean, networking or
I was gonna say,
joining organizations, is that helpful?
I would say the big thing is networking and getting yourself out there, making connections. You never know who this person's going to know or that person's going to know. Like that's been the big thing with me.
Well, and definitely the awards, submitting for the awards, because especially with the GDAs, like you immediately get published
Well, that's
if you win.
right.
That's what I'm
right.
saying. I love that.
But it is helpful. I think a lot of pitches that I get are from photographers or stylists, and they know what's out there, and they are very familiar with all the general things going on in the industry. So that can really be a good key. Find yourself a really good stylist and a really good photographer, because they then and find somebody that really knows the editors and that's familiar with the whole process, because they can truly help push your work out there. I mean, I think that's how we got your project that we published. It was
right.
really from
Catrina.
the photographer who sent it and said, "This is a beautiful." I don't even know if you knew that she had done that.
I didn't.
And we really liked the space, and we thought it looked beautiful, and so there you go. So now I want to talk a little bit, this is a big topic, but how the paradigm has changed, and I get this question a lot from designers, and I kind of feel badly for the design industry in some respects, because things have changed so quickly in the last few years with photography and styling. I mean, it used to be the magazine was totally in charge of that. I mean, we paid all the fees for the photographer. We paid all the fees for the stylist. We wanted to do this particular, we wanted to do a shoot of this living room. We set everything up. We paid all the fees to get it all styled up. We were on the scene to, even direct, let's move this over here. Let's move this, coffee table over there, whatever. We would, be there to kind of help direct in a way. But now, really, there are a few instances where the magazine might still do that, but I would say 90% of the time, magazines are relying on the interior designer to say, here are the project photos, to pay for the stylist, to pay for the photo shoot, and to just submit it to the magazine. Okay, so you may think, well, that's awful because, on the front end, you have a lot of big fees to pay. The good news about that is the magazine used to own all of those photos. I mean, when we paid for it, we owned it, and you had no access to it, and we could then use it however we wanted to. And boy, there were ironclad agreements, like once we take these pictures, they're ours and that's it. And okay, now you own the photos, we do not. And, we often will ask or try to come up with an agreement whereby if we want to run a project of yours, we have the first, it hasn't been published anywhere else, and we want to be able to publish it first. But then after that magazine comes out, the good news is that you own those photos, and you can use them however you want. You can post them to social media, you can send them out a newsletter, you can do whatever you want to do, and we have no say-so over that whatsoever. I honestly have had a couple of designers who are friends of mine tell me they like this much better because the magazine is not interfering with their design work, and not trying to be at the shoot telling them how to do things, and that they have it arranged the way they want it, and that's the way it should be. So, there's I guess pluses and minuses, but I think all in all, that's probably a good thing that this has happened, because you do have the ownership. Can you all speak to that as far as, like Cristi, especially with, you're being a designer?
I mean, I think it's twofold, because, well, for one, you have done the photo shoot, you've gotten the photos, you're sending it to them, you're getting in the magazine, but then you can go and use it on your portfolio for your Instagram, whereas before you wouldn't have had that opportunity to do that. You would have had to then go and spend the money anyway to do that. And then the look might not have been consistent through
Yes.
each of the
Yeah,
media.
you can really be in control. I
You
think
can.
that's the main thing. You have control over it. Do you have any,
Well, I think to that as well, which I can't remember where we were going to speak this, but a lot of times that's kind of getting into the shared photo shoot. Remember what we were talking about that?
yes, the shared photo shoots.
So, yeah, so we want to go down that road.
Yes.
But with, like she's saying with the magazine, they own the photos, so you might spend the day there all day, and then you don't have any rights to the photos. Yeah, it's getting published, but
Right.
when you're doing it yourself, you have so many more uses. But with that being said, we also were talking about, some people come to us, or at least come to me and says, can we, and I've had my interior designers talk about it, and I try to educate you guys.
We work with a lot of builders,
Yeah.
and they ask, oh, well, since you're doing
Let's
a photo
split the
shoot,
cost.
can we split the cost? But that's two directors. That's the builder wanting to take a photo of something that you don't want to take, but you're spending money, even though it's only half the money. It just doesn't ever seem to work out well. It never seems to work out well. And then we've spent an entire day styling, and we can't use it. I mean, we've been there. And it was one of the things that Catrina said when we first started working. I said, so I've got builders that want to split the photo shoot. And she said, I don't do it. I will not work with two directors. I'm like, great, perfect, I can tell them that. You made my job very easy.
Yeah, it gets very cumbersome because you think like I'm there and I have two people trying to tell me what to do and what photos to take, and we're in a limited amount of time to get as much as we can, and I'm trying to make everyone happy, and it's hard. So what I recommend is you take control of the photo shoot, you pay for the photo shoot, and then if your builder wants some, then we'll send them the link on the back end and they can purchase license and usage for what they want. If they want all like 10 photos from the shoot or 13, then they can buy all 13. If they want 2 or 3, because again, the builder might want to take a picture of the banister, and Cristi's like, I have no use for that, you know, and then Cristi's wanting something that the builder doesn't want. So it's just easier to keep it separate.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
And I've done it to where like I've done the shoot for the designer the day before and they style it, and then I do a shoot for the builder the following day.
But then you have a different opinion
I have a
of it.
controversial
Yes, she has
take.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's
Which I
hear
do
it.
think
Let's
is
hear it.
beneficial.
Well,
Yeah, no.
customarily, I'm the first person on the chopping block, so if you spread that cost out, you can afford me, and I'll be there as long as you want. And I will say, you know, if you communicate beforehand about what you need, you could, it would just make the photo shoot longer, but you could take a photo of the banister and provide it to the
Right.
architect or whatever, but
Yeah.
everybody has their own
Yeah.
business.
Well, okay, so are there other ways that you can think of to get your projects into the public arena? I mean, are there some maybe unconventional ways, like throwing events or, you know, just joining organizations or?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I know a lot of people that join all kinds of like boards and stuff, or their kids' soccer team, and they've got banners up, you know, interior design. I've seen at the football fields where people have their interiors, you know, posted. Like you can pay sponsorship to get a banner on
Really?
the fencing line.
That's
Yeah. So there's lots of different ways. I mean, you can get creative with it. The big thing I would say is always look to where your audience is. So what type of client are you looking for, and where are they? And where can you get in front of them? So whether that be some type of event, you know, like I know some designers hang out at the High Museum, because there's a lot of people, you know, the membership levels of the High Museum and going to those networking events,
Or
magazines.
joining things like coming to this type
Yeah.
of event is a great thing.
Yeah,
You know, all of ADAC, they're
And I was actually telling one of my clients just today, I was like, it's good to be in a room with other designers, because there's sometimes when designers are over, they might have too much work and they're like, I can't handle this little project. I'm going to pass it off to this person because I know this is more their style, or they're looking for more of this type of. So I see it all the time, designers passing work back and forth.
Right.
So
Speaking of that, we were talking a little bit earlier about certain types of photography and styling and,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
that was interesting to me that you mentioned that some photographers are more geared to certain types of design or rooms than others. Can you tell us a little bit about what you
Yeah,
meant?
so what I was saying, I was saying a while back, I got in this thing where all my, seemed like a lot of my clients were light and bright, and everybody that was calling me was wanting light and bright, and it was very neutral. And it was like, but I can shoot color. I just need color. Somebody give me color. And I've started doing more, incorporating more and more color into my portfolio, but I am a very bright photographer, I will say that. I'm not the dark and moody. So that's something else you want to look into when you're looking for a photographer and the style that you're wanting to go for. If you're wanting that dark and moody, that's not me. I like light, not light, I don't like all neutrals. Yes, they're pretty, but I like colors. I love pops of color when it lends to, doing that. But, that's the thing about really researching your photographers and researching the type of photography that they do.
And same thing, I'm sure, with
Yeah.
styling,
Well, and I would say too, this is your project. Like, if you don't want to use the same photographer every time and something feels like
Right.
this is going to be better here, then pivot. If you work with a stylist and you didn't like what they were doing, try another stylist. And, eventually the goal is that you find a team that really works and is cohesive and is actually like fun to work with. And then you could look forward to these days that you're spending a ton of your money on,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And talk about, you were mentioning earlier the consulting time, there's an intimidation factor, I
Sure.
think, with all of this,
It's a huge investment. And
So,
I think the styling portion can feel like, well, I could do that, and you could if you wanted. I will walk you through it.
It is very hard.
And
It is not a walk in the park.
and I think after you do it one time by yourself, you'll call me back. But I do like a consulting, so I'll look at your room and I'll just pretend like I'm doing it. And what I usually do is I'll sketch where I think there should be a vessel. I will tell you the types of greenery that I think it could be. I personally go to a place called Mayesh where they have a cold room and they have all these fresh flowers, but I'm not snobby. I can send you recs from Trader Joe's, Publix. There are ways that you can forage. You can go out into the forest and cut a limb down, and it looks very chic, I have to say. So I do offer this service, and I just essentially give you what I would do and give you a list of things and where I would buy them, and you do the rest.
that sort of plays into, I forgot to mention the resource list and how important that is. This is the bane of every writer's existence, I want to tell you, is getting the resource lists that go with stories. It's not enough just to send your project to a magazine. We will want, most interior design magazines will want your resource list and every little thing, from the throw pillow on the couch to the little table to the barware. Where did you source that? What's the brand? All of that stuff. So every once in a while, I've had a beautiful project come across my desk that I really love, and the designer doesn't have, does not have the resources and can't find it. And that's a real shame, because that's just part of the story. We run our resource list behind each story to make it really easy for readers. And I used to wonder, well, is that really important? But honestly, readers they really do like that. They like to know if they see something in that photo, they want to know where they can go look at it or get it or
And
whatever.
I would say it's easier to do that right when your
Yes.
project is happening. We have a detailed spreadsheet for every project that's searchable, so that we can find anything we need
and save it.
At our fingertips. But the turnaround time on needing the resource list is pretty tight, because once you guys get to writing the article,
Right.
you need that day.
Yeah.
So it would be, if you had a busy day, it would be very difficult to then go back to a project from a year ago and figure
Right.
out all the resources. So
Almost
it's really, if you can
impossible.
do that at the beginning of the project before you're even submitting it, it'll be a lot easier.
And I know it's a pain in the rear for everybody concerned. It really is. I think from the interior designer to the writer to every, but it's just one of those necessary evils. And so I just encourage you, when you do a project, to keep up with all that and really save it or put it in an Excel spreadsheet or do something and just put the name of the project on it and save it, because you never know when you might need it. So just a little tidbit there. But anyway, any other things that we need to, cover that I've missed here?
Did we cover everything?
I
There's
think
just
one
a-
thing that we didn't talk about, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I know are some publications out there where it's like pay to play. And so
Yes.
there are some, if you
Yes.
are dying to be published, there are ways, there's like smaller publications where you can purchase an ad.
Yeah.
And some of them coin it as a special issue, and so it's not necessarily, it doesn't look like you've paid. So that's a potential way
Yeah.
to also,
And
as a designer.
with that being said, because I've asked Cristi, I'm like, what do you think gives you more? What have you gotten more out of? And she
That is
said-
not what I have gotten anything out of. I will be very upfront, because we have done that.
But the smaller, you said,
The
some
small-
of the
yeah.
community, so even that.
But we haven't paid for
Don't
those.
discount the small community
Right.
magazines, because those are
Those
also-
have gotten us by far, aside from
No, you mean like little, say like something
Community.
geared to just Marietta or East
Johns
Cobb
Creek
or
City
Johns
Limit,
Creek,
East
the Johns
Cobb,
Creek
yeah.
Gazette or something, yeah. that
those
would be
are great because
Yeah.
they target those neighborhoods that are apt
Absolutely.
to actually purchase, purchase from you.
Yeah,
But then on the flip side, I would say some of the larger ones, we have not seen any. I'm not saying that that's not everybody's experience, but
Yeah.
we just haven't really seen a lot of turnaround.
right, right.
Well, and I would say too, with these elevated photos, you're appealing to a client that's going to be more sophisticated overall.
Right.
So I just think it behooves you to have it in your own,
Arsenal.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, do we have any questions? We have about 15 minutes or so. I wanted to leave some time for just questions. Yes?
You're an interior designer, but you do styling. How did you guys really get into styling and actually make a career out of it?
Well, this is my second career. I was a photojournalist, photo editor, video editor with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution for about 10 years. Then I had a stint at CNN. Stayed home with my children for a little while. I have 3. And one of my girlfriends reached out to me. She works for a renovations company in Atlanta, and I'd started taking photos of my own home during the pandemic because I was losing my mind. And she said, would you ever want to style for us? And I said, what on earth is that? And so I went one day and I was like, oh, now this is great. This is fun because you just get to play. And I'm sure all of us in this room were like using our hip to move our furniture around at 2 o'clock in the morning and being like, ta-da, look at what I did, Mom. Like we're all crazy. And so when I started doing it, I just thought, well, this is fun. And then I went to another project and I went to another project. And then Matthew Quinn back there hired me to do his 3rd book. And little did he know
Oh,
it was
my
like
goodness.
my 7th job out of the gate.
Wow.
So I got really lucky. I think I'm a personality
That was a
hire.
good break.
Yeah, I think I'm a personality hire, but that's how I got into it because somebody felt bad for me because they said, that lady's losing her mind in her house. She needs a project. And that's how I did it.
Definitely go out and follow her because her Instagram and her YouTube and her home goods shopping cracks me up.
Oh,
You crack me up.
Yeah, we were
Yeah,
talking about that high-low.
I'm a real diehard home goods fan.
Yeah.
I do a series called Home Goods and Bads. But I truly believe, like, if you find the right accessory, you do
all-
not
it
have to
doesn't matter.
spend a ton of money.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe my background in journalism is always going to make me very sympathetic to budget and very sympathetic to, the common man because that I am her, she is me, I'm the Eggman.
Love it.
And I would say, like, we ended up kind of doing our own styling organically. I had a stint on HGTV, And we had to do internally, our team had to do all the styling for those shows and for the beauty shots after. And so I learned a lot because I got to do 36 episodes in 3 years, which is a lot of projects. So that's kind of where I took my cues from some people who are better than me and really kind of learned how to hone that craft, and then just took it into I already had my design business at that time, but we weren't really photographing anything. And so once we started really photographing our own projects, at the time I couldn't hire or couldn't afford a stylist to help on our projects. And so I kind of started like amassing this box and realizing, okay, well, I don't want to take the shampoos back to the store every time. I'll just keep those. And so I just started kind of like keeping them.
That's how it starts.
Yes, it does.
That's how it starts, and then you have a storage unit.
And so that's kind of how and now we have enough of a team that it's easy. It's not easy, it's hard, but it is easier than it was when it was just me. So.
But that was an interesting point you just said. When I started out, I didn't have the money. I couldn't afford a stylist. We were talking a little bit.
I didn't know there were people that did consulting,
Yeah,
so that would have been perfect.
We were talking about that too, like how you charge, and people are intimidated by that whole process too, like just like I think people are intimidated by interior design.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh no, how much is this going to cost?
Right.
How do you charge? How do you
Right
charge?
now, I charge each project individually. So we have a call, you'll send me over photos, we get really clear on the expectations, what your goals are, and then it's a conversation. So I've found that sending a contract over with rates can sometimes intimidate people, and that's not what I want. I want to just talk you through the process, and everything's negotiable. So if all you can afford is me bringing food and floral, then I'm just going to bring food and floral, and there's value to me being there. So I don't like to make a clear,
Right.
this much an hour. I do have those rates, but I'd like to see what we're working with first. Mm-hmm. And then, I can always do the consulting and empower you to do it yourself. I think if it's a powder room or something, like, you can handle it, I got you. We can get through this together.
Any other questions? Oh, yes, ma'am.
Mine's twofold.
Uh-huh.
First is straight on or angled. Which are magazines liking more right now?
Boy,
That would be you.
that's kind of hard. Really, as far as
You use both?
yeah, yes. It just really depends on the composition of the space and just really just the feel. A lot of it is just kind of
It's all
It's
feeling.
kind of gut feeling, really. It's kind of funny.
And I'll
Okay,
tell you,
Part two is, are there any styling things that you used to see or do that you were just like, I don't do that anymore?
I'm sure we all like that.
They are
like
out.
the bouquets of flowers. Don't do it.
Okay.
Just,
Did we ever do it? Did that ever? By the way, what do I know? I just got here.
Like in the HGTV days,
Yeah,
like
okay,
2011,
yeah.
2012, like,
You like that, okay?
yeah, well, no,
Poor
but just like
bouquet.
a very tailored
Yeah.
bouquet.
Things
store
are more
bought
more
bouquet.
free flowing
the
now.
more
Yeah.
the bigger the better.
But
we
I
love
will
to
say,
cut our flowers. So
if I want to say, if that really feels real to you, I really think you have to be yourself. Suzanne Kessler has the mound, and it's beautiful, and it's her, and it's classic. So
but most people can't.
hard and fast rules, I think, I like breaking the rules, and I like it, I think it's kind of cool to be a disruptor, and I would agree, perhaps something that looks like it's from Kroger may not be at the level.
It's not that we haven't used it recently or we haven't done it, but if it fits the space, I would say
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not a hard
You'll-
rule,
yeah.
but it's a mostly hard rule.
Yes.
Well, it also depends greatly on the spec.
Yeah,
if
and
you've got a
honestly,
very
maybe
traditional.
someday a Kroger thing would be like tongue in cheek.
It
We don't
might
know.
Yeah, I know.
You don't know. We don't know. We haven't seen the space.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Could answer.
Okay.
We haven't diagnosed it properly.
Directly pitch you, just to send pictures?
Oh, yeah,
all-
we've done that.
They do it all the time. All the time. Yes. Do interior designers pitch directly to a magazine? Absolutely. I mean, now with this whole new, so we talked about this new paradigm where you do the shoot, you own the photos, you've got a beautiful project. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I get dozens a week from interior designers who have, taken these beautiful photos, and they send me maybe a few to pique my interest, and then, I have called back and said, hey, this is really stunning, and we'd like to do this in maybe a renovation. It may not be a whole big piece. It might just be a renovation story or something like that. But yeah, absolutely.
I have kind of a piggyback onto that. What would you say is the etiquette on pitching, and how much time do you give someone when you're, so like
Well, I spend a lot of time every week, really, because I try to look at every single I mean, I really open up that, some people send me like 3 or 4 photos, but some people send 15 or 20, and I mean, I really do try to, because I respect your time, and I respect what you do so very much, and I honestly want to look at everything and make sure that I'm really, getting a good idea of what it's all about. But one thing I will say is just be sure, like I said, when you do pitch an editor, kind of know a little bit about the magazine. I have gotten some pitches that were kind of, I'm like, I don't think they sent this to the right person. And I've also gotten a few that my name, like I got one the other day and the person said, Dear Ben. I mean, like, I was like, Ben, well, I don't know. I think this went to the wrong magazine. I don't know. But anyway, so just do a little tad of homework goes a long way, just to know the editor's name and just to know a little bit about
Just the important
just
details.
just little niggly details.
Yeah.
But just and also to know a little bit about the magazine, like what. And we try to cover a lot of different types of design. I mean, we're just covering really great designers who are from in Georgia design. So
And something I've heard is it's not all about the photos, it's also about the story.
True.
So if you can come
Yeah.
up with a
For
story.
me, I really love that. And for our readers, the backstory is also very important. Like if I get a pitch and it just has this story that kind of either just is interesting, maybe it's like a home that has some real history to it, or 2 or 3 generations of a family have lived there, or it's just a story about, I don't know, it just weaves in something about the people who live there. That's so, the magazine is more than just the pictures. It's
Right.
also the story for us.
So at
So,
the same time. So
yes.
the pictures and the story.
a little, yes, like usually what works best is just like a little paragraph, like this home is owned by the 3rd generation in this family, and it's located in Madison, and just give me just a little bit. You don't have to write a whole, like dissertation or anything, just a paragraph about what the general theme is, and that often helps a lot.
And I would say that if you know that story beforehand, that's a great conversation to have with the photographer and the stylist, so that we
Yes.
can convey
Yes.
that through the styling
Absolutely.
and the photography.
Yeah. Anybody else? Back there?
Yeah, hi. When you're photographing kitchens that have large islands, do you have any tips on how you decide the scale of the styling objects?
Big, very big. Bigger than you think,
Oh, yeah.
like obnoxious.
big kitchens dwarf everything for
Yeah.
some reason.
Like a big bowl with some bullshit. And a big, with, sorry, am I not allowed to cuss? Okay. And then like a big vessel with, and like, I would consistently go into kitchens specifically with Matthew that were huge, and I had to I was like, yeah, I thought that was huge when I bought it. Bigger than you think.
Interesting. Okay. Is that just for kitchens, or?
It's for big
Just big-
spaces.
okay.
But I would say, in general, I have found in my experience that if it's bigger, it looks better in the photo.
Mm-hmm.
And it is always bigger than you think,
Yeah.
shockingly.
And would you go for more airy things where you can see more of the kitchen in the background? Is that part of your process?
Well, I generally do like to have something that's less dense so that you can see. But it really depends on the space. Why don't we talk afterwards, and maybe I can do some cutting for you.
Yes, right.
Piggyback on the storytelling, I think I can project.
Oh,
Sorry, we're just recording.
Because there's like 4 different points of view, and Fran, you just kind of talked about the words, the story,
Yes.
that part, which is
Yes.
not just the visual.
Right.
You're there behind the lens, so you're looking at it, this 2D image, and then the stylist is taking the 3D space from the designer, at which we're designing a 2D and trying to bring it to life because it's a flat image. So just, all that being said, just your points of view from where you're at as far as telling the story.
Who wants to start?
I don't know, I don't understand, am I stupid? I don't understand the question.
Yeah.
Maybe like how does the,
Explain it to me like I'm 5.
All like this, there's been a lot said, sitting through this today about the storytelling and
Right.
visually, how are you telling the story from your point of view as, say, the photographer, what you're seeing through the lens, the stylist sees something different, and then the designer, the stylist might be destroying your design, because they're moving.
like how do we all work together?
Yeah, like it's collaborative, but you're all bringing something to it. So,
Right,
I'm gonna make something up.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean,
I'm good at that. Hold on.
okay.
No, you go first.
Well, I was gonna say, a lot of times, the way I approach it is when I go to a shoot and we're about to shoot something, stylist is there, or if the stylist isn't there, I tell them up front, I'm like, I'll give my opinion, but ultimately, you're the paying client. I also, by that point, want to know, like, I already know what they're trying to do with the photos. And then I'll tell, I've had situations where I've come in and I've been like, okay, this artwork's, it's not going to work. We need something bigger, or and either they have something bigger or they don't, or we kind of go from there. So we work together, and that's part of what I love about what I do with interiors. When I first started shooting interiors in school, I was the only one in the house, and I didn't like it, and I didn't think I wanted to do architecture. But then as I started working with other architectural photographers and finding that you're working with, it's a collaborative thing. We're working together to get to the same end goal. So I just feel like you just work together in the situation.
And that's why I'm saying, like, it's so important you find a good team that you really trust.
Yeah.
And I prefer when, like, there's no egos, because what we're trying to do is amplify your work. And we're trying to, like, take you to the next level, and we're all super excited about it. I would say in terms of storytelling through styling, it really varies client to client, because some designers want to be really involved and they get really geeked out about, like, what kind of produce this kitchen is asking for. Like, I'm insane. And you don't have to be like that. Like, I can tell you what I thought the kitchen was asking for, and it was asking for heirloom tomatoes, And, like, but I'm like that into the storytelling. And I even like to think, okay, so if you're in the butler's pantry and you're doing this, and then you're in the kitchen, you're doing this, and maybe you're in the closet and you're getting ready for a party, like, it's kind of cool to think about styling like that too. Like, is there a tux in the closet and they're getting ready for a dinner party that they're throwing? Is there champagne that they're pouring? Are they having lobster? Like, you can really get granular, and depending on how into that your client is.
But talking
And
about, I
how-
think you wanted to know about a lot about the backstories and how that works into this.
That's your point of view,
Yeah.
I think, as the editor.
Yes. Well, what's interesting is now that we do this from the other way around. In other words, we get pitched by the designers often. The story is important because, they're telling me kind of okay, this home is owned by, like I said, a certain type of couple, or a really interesting globe-trotting couple, or whatever the story is. So then when I assign that story to a writer, I will give that information to that writer and say, when you're talking to the designer, try to pull some of this out. Or sometimes the homeowners do not want to be, they really want to be completely anonymous. But sometimes they agree to be interviewed. If we can get the homeowner to say a few words, that's always kind of fun. And we take that story and we try to weave it. I'm not saying it's dependent on the photos. The photos are still showing the home and all of it. But, we just like that personal touch. We're still talking in the story about the great design, and that's the bulk of the story, is what the designer has done and all the beautiful finishes or furnishings and whatnot. But if we can weave in just a little storyline about the people who live there, I think it just is more interesting to readers.
I feel like a good example, and I promise I'm not trying to, like, talk about you the whole time, but when Matthew's penthouse was on the cover.
Right, exactly.
And he's
That's
from
a good
Key
example.
West, and so we did
That's a good example.
crab in his kitchen walking, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, but we talked about, like, what kind of things do you want in your kitchen? And,
Right.
I mean,
And
that's
then
best
we
case
mentioned that in the
scenario,
text,
but,
that, you know, the
and
colors.
like, we had key limes
Right.
and key lime pie
And
on the table.
right.
He was getting ready for a dinner party, like,
Yeah.
he was cooking paella for
Right.
the guests.
I mean, we just try to work in a few little things like that. You know, it's just not intrusive into the homeowner's life, but just some little facts that make things
And if you can
more
know the
interesting.
story beforehand, then
Yeah,
the styling can match
exactly.
up with it.
Right,
And you can
right.
even, for example, that photo was taken in the evening, so that was, we had to, alter the schedule so that we could get the
Yes.
sun setting.
Right, exactly.
So just all those
So it's
little
not
details.
critical, but it's just, it's a really nice to have. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting for readers, you know. So, yes, ma'am.
You said you still can't publish on Instagram your pictures if you're going to send
That's a good question.
Oh, boy, that's a tough one because now people just take their photo, I mean, they're just posting everywhere and we can't monitor that. But we do generally ask if we're going to do a story, run it in the print magazine or even a digital story about a home. We would like for you to wait. If you could, if you could, we would like for you to wait and put that out there after, just after the magazine comes out. You can do it the next week, but just, it's kind of, we don't make you sign an agreement that says, oh, I'm not going to do this. Maybe we should, but
Now, something you could do if you wanted to get creative is you could take photos during the photo shoot with your iPhone, like details,
Right,
and put those on your stories,
right,
right?
right.
Because those
Or the
disappear after 24 hours.
Right.
Right. If
You
you wanted.
could do that if you
If
really
you
wanted.
wanted.
Yes, you could do that. Yeah, that's okay. I don't get too worried about all of that because I feel like, when a magazine comes out, it's something different about it. It just has a certain gravitas that's just different than all the other stuff out there. And digital and all of that is very important, but
And I don't
Yeah,
know.
at
print
the end of the
is-
day,
print is
really.
paramount to
Yeah.
Well, and kind of what we were always told is it also depends on your audience. If you've got 500 followers, I don't think it's really gonna matter very much. If you've got, 5 to 10,000 followers, it may be a
Right,
different
right.
story. So.
Yeah, but it's, I think if, I would hate to see a full home project get put out there ahead of,
But to that, I will say, if you're looking to get published and you have something photographed, you need to actively be trying to get it published. Otherwise, it's just going to sit on your
Yeah,
hard
market
drive.
it,
Because
there's-
even if right after your photo shoot, you're like, oh, I don't have time to pitch it or try to get it published. A year later goes by, and then finally you're like, okay, I have time to look to get it published. And then it's going to take another year before it's actually in the publication. So now you have a project that's 2 years old before it's even getting out there, and it's just sitting on a hard drive all that time. I've had projects that have, from clients, that's why I started pitching myself, because I would shoot something and then I couldn't do anything with the images. They were just sitting on our hard drive for a year or two.
Yeah.
And the designer wasn't actively pitching it. And it's like, okay, well,
Well, that's the good thing about digital stuff too, like with the digital articles that we publish, because they're very fast. I mean,
Yeah.
I had actually what's up there now, our latest story is a Savannah home. And, from start to finish, this took maybe a week. I mean, a designer pitched me on this story, and I loved the house. I thought it was really interesting, had a very interesting historical home backstory. So I thought, well, this will be great. I can't run it in the magazine because the the winter issue was already filled, and the spring issue is actually already filled. So I asked about, well, would you be interested in just having it as a digital story? And the designer said, absolutely. So, we had it up within 2 or 3 days, that didn't take
cool.
long at all, so.
I would definitely have a game
Yeah.
plan for the
So
photos.
there are a lot of different avenues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that is fantastic. We have one more question. We can do one more.
That's it? One more,
Yeah,
okay.
go ahead.
Yes.
Kat, who owns the rights to the picture after you photograph them? Is it designer, is it you, is there?
So the photographer owns the rights to the images, and then whoever the client is. So when me and Cristi work together, we have shared rights on the images, which is why I work so closely with her whenever there's something, like I'm pitching her work or something, like we work together. And same with her. If she finds someone, we communicate back and forth. That's something else, like we were saying earlier, if the builder or the lighting company or someone else wants access to those images, she would put them in touch with me, and then they purchase license and usage for their marketing use. So, but as far as the ownership, it's both of us, shared ownership.
Okay, thank you so much. That was so great.
Thank
Such
you.
wonderful
Thank you all so much for
information.
coming. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.